Step back in time and rediscover 20 forgotten Easter desserts that once sweetened springtime celebrations. These treats brought families together, but many have disappeared. Let's remember the flavors we're missing. Hot cross bun pudding. Hot cross buns are still around, but what about transforming the leftovers into a warm, custard-soaked bread pudding? This Easter dessert took day-old hot cross buns, sliced and layered in a baking dish with raisins, cinnamon, and a sweet egg custard poured over top. Baked until golden and served warm, it was the cozy conclusion to a spring feast. It mattered because it honored tradition while reducing waste. Rather than letting buns go stale, families gave them new life in a comforting dessert. It was frugal, familiar, and full of flavor. As modern recipes evolved and fewer people baked buns at home, the pudding variation disappeared. Today, you'd be lucky to find it in a heritage cookbook or grandma's handwritten notes. Did your family have a twist on this treat? Or do you remember the smell wafting from the oven? Let us know in the comments. Pane di Pasqua, Italian Easter bread. Bright, braided, and topped with dyed eggs, Pane di Pasqua was once both centerpiece and dessert in many Italian homes during Easter Sunday. Made with a soft, lightly sweetened yeast dough, often infused with lemon zest, orange peel, or anise. The bread was braided into rings or loaves, with colorful uncooked eggs nestled into the folds. During baking, the eggs would hard-boil in place, becoming part of the edible design. The final result, a golden, slightly glossy loaf, often sprinkled with sugar or topped with icing. It mattered because it symbolized rebirth, unity, and celebration. The act of baking it brought families together, and gifting a loaf to neighbors or loved ones was a sign of peace and good wishes. Over time, as busy schedules and store-bought convenience became the norm, the tradition of making it from scratch faded. Still, those who remember it recall the sweet aroma, the vibrant colors, and the pride of serving something made with love and meant to be shared.
Sugar eggs with hidden scenes.
These delicate sugar sculptures were true works of edible art, shaped like oversized Easter eggs, decorated with royal icing, and hiding tiny springtime dioramas inside. Popular throughout Europe and the US from the early 1900s through the 1970s, these hollow sugar eggs were made by tightly packing sugar into molds, carefully hollowing out the centers and sealing the halves together. Royal icing added colorful embellishments, flowers, scalloped edges, or a name in cursive. Inside, bunnies, chicks, flowers, and even miniature churches awaited discovery through a peephole. They mattered because they captured the wonder of Easter for children and adults alike. More than just sweets, they were keepsakes, often displayed for weeks and remembered for years. As mass-produced candy and cheaper novelties took over, these handcrafted confections faded into obscurity. Today, you'll find them mostly at vintage fairs, specialty bakeries, or in nostalgic DIY tutorials. Get ready for a fluffy favorite next. It was whipped, chilled, and layered with love. Pineapple fluff salad. Neither fully a dessert nor quite a salad, pineapple fluff was a pastel dream that graced countless Easter buffets throughout the 1960s and 70s. It wasn't fancy, but it was unforgettable. Made with crushed canned pineapple, whipped cream, or Cool Whip, mini marshmallows, and either instant pudding or gelatin, it was mixed together and chilled until light, fluffy, and spoonable. Some families added shredded coconut, chopped pecans, or even colored marshmallows for extra texture and flair. It mattered because it was festive, foolproof, and fed a crowd. After a heavy Easter meal of ham, potatoes, and casseroles, this airy salad brought a cool, sweet break, and kids especially adored its creamy texture and tropical flavor. As food trends leaned more gourmet or health-conscious, pineapple fluff fell out of favor and became the subject of retro recipe jokes. But for those who remember it, one chilled spoonful still tastes like spring, pastel plastic tablecloths, and laughter echoing around a crowded Easter table. Simnel cake. This traditional British dessert was once a beloved staple of Easter tables, a spiced fruitcake topped with a layer of marzipan and 11 toasted marzipan balls representing the apostles, excluding Judas. Simnel cake dates back to medieval times and was originally associated with Mothering Sunday, but eventually became closely tied to Easter. Packed with dried fruits like currants, sultanas, and cherries, the cake was rich, dense, and often laced with warming spices and a touch of brandy. It mattered because it blended flavor with faith. The marzipan topping wasn't just for looks, It was a visual and edible nod to the religious story of Easter. It brought symbolism to the table in a way everyone could enjoy. As lighter, fresher desserts became more popular, and fruitcake fell out of favor, Simnel cake quietly disappeared from many modern Easter menus. Still, the aroma of cinnamon, nutmeg, and almonds instantly brings back memories for those who grew up with a slice served on floral china, alongside afternoon tea. Chocolate nests with jelly eggs. These edible birds' nests were once a beloved childhood favorite, charming, sweet, and simple enough for little hands to help create. Made by melting chocolate and mixing it with crispy chow mein noodles or shredded wheat, the mixture was spooned into muffin tins or shaped by hand into nest-like circles. Once cooled and hardened, they were filled with jelly beans, chocolate eggs, or candy-coated almonds. Mini eggs nestled inside for a fun springtime surprise. They mattered because they combined creativity, playfulness, and dessert. Kids loved shaping them, decorating them, and, of course, eating them. They also made adorable centerpieces on Easter tables, especially when displayed on grass-like paper or colorful plates. As dessert trends shifted toward more polished or store-bought options, these simple homemade nests faded from tradition. Still, their no-bake ease and nostalgic charm make them a perfect candidate for a revival, especially in today's DIY-friendly world. Now let's break open a Spanish treat filled with tradition and surprise. Mona de Pasqua. In Catalonia and other parts of Spain, Easter Monday meant one thing: La Mona de Pasqua, a festive, often whimsical cake that blended tradition with celebration. Originally a simple sweet bread topped with hard-boiled eggs, the Mona was gifted by godparents to their godchildren. The number of eggs symbolized the child's age, one for each year, making it both dessert and rite of passage. Over time, the Mona evolved into colorful confections, often layered with whipped cream, covered in chocolate, or shaped like cartoon characters, castles, or animals. It mattered because it was more than just a treat. It was a gesture of love and continuity. Each cake was proudly displayed before being joyfully devoured at Easter Monday lunches or picnics. Today, most monas come from commercial bakeries, and many have lost the traditional hard-boiled egg element in favor of flashier chocolate decorations. Still, for older generations, receiving a Mona, especially a homemade one, remains one of the sweetest and most cherished Easter memories in Spanish culture. Rhubarb custard pie. Tart, sweet, and vibrantly pink, rhubarb custard pie was once a cherished springtime dessert, especially in rural households where rhubarb thrived in backyard gardens or along fence lines. Made with crisp, tangy rhubarb stalks and a creamy vanilla custard nestled in a flaky homemade crust, this pie offered a perfect contrast of sharp and smooth. Often dusted with powdered sugar and served chilled, it was a refreshing end to Easter lunch or dinner. It mattered because it celebrated the season. Rhubarb's early harvest made it one of the first fruits to emerge after winter, symbolizing rebirth, renewal, and nature's return, fitting perfectly with Easter's themes. Over time, rhubarb fell out of fashion, replaced by easier-to-find fruits or more popular flavors like lemon and chocolate. Custard pies, too, gave way to quicker, less delicate desserts. Still, for those who remember it, that first tart sweet bite brings back Easter gatherings, vintage dishware, and the pride of using what grew just outside the kitchen door. Coconut cream pie. Coconut cream pie once reigned supreme at Easter dessert tables. Its flaky crust, velvety coconut custard filling, and pillowy whipped cream topping made it a crowd pleaser from the 1940s through the 70s. Often topped with toasted coconut flakes and served chilled, it offered the perfect balance of indulgence and lightness, ideal after a rich Easter meal. Some families added pineapple or a splash of rum for a tropical twist. It mattered because it felt like spring on a plate. The coconut symbolized freshness, and the chilled filling was a cool contrast to hot dishes served earlier in the day. As no-bake cheesecakes and store-bought options took over, coconut cream pie faded from menus. Making the custard from scratch took time, a luxury fewer families could afford. Still, one bite brings back memories of floral tablecloths, jelly bean centerpieces, and dessert served on china plates. But our next dessert wasn't plated at all. It was tucked into the freezer for a surprise ending. Icebox lemon squares. These chilled lemony squares were once the perfect finale to a springtime Easter meal. Bright, tangy, and easy to prepare ahead of time. Made with a buttery graham cracker crust, a tart lemon filling, and topped with either whipped cream or toasted meringue, they were stored in the fridge or freezer until firm. Once set, they were sliced into neat little squares or bars, each one offering a refreshing bite that stood out among richer desserts. They mattered because they were stress-free, seasonal, and crowd-pleasing. Hosts could make them days in advance, freeing up time for Easter cooking or entertaining. The zesty flavor and chilled texture made them a welcome contrast to chocolate or spice-based treats. As dessert trends shifted toward decadent, layered cakes or showstopper confections, lemon squares quietly slipped into the background. Still, for many, that cool, citrusy bite brings back warm memories of floral tablecloths, laughter, and sunny spring afternoons. Did your family make lemon squares for Easter, or do you remember a dessert that's vanished from your spring table? Let us know in the comments. Strawberry pretzel salad. Don't let the name fool you. This retro Easter salad was 100% dessert, and proudly so. A sweet and salty sensation, it layered crushed pretzels, a rich cream cheese filling, and glossy strawberry Jell-O with fresh sliced strawberries on top. Popular from the 1960s through the 1980s, this chilled dish was a must-have at spring potlucks, especially around Easter. The buttery pretzel crust added unexpected crunch and saltiness. The creamy middle was smooth and tangy, and the strawberry gelatin topping gave it that festive ruby red finish. It mattered because it was playful and surprising. No one expected pretzels in dessert, but it worked. It was colorful, crave-worthy, and impossible to stop at just one square. As desserts became more refined or fruit-forward, this nostalgic combo fell out of favor. But for many, it remains a flavor time capsule of family tables, church halls, and backyard Easter meals. And yes, it was always served in a casserole dish. Banana cream pie. Fluffy, creamy, and filled with slices of real banana, this pie was once an Easter mainstay. Its golden crust, velvety filling, and whipped topping made it a light, comforting favorite. Made with layers of banana, vanilla, or banana pudding, and topped with whipped cream, or sometimes meringue, banana cream pie was served chilled, often decorated with extra banana slices or toasted coconut. It mattered because it was reliable and beloved. It wasn't overly sweet or complicated, and it appealed to every generation at the table. It was a go-to for families who wanted something classic and refreshing after a hearty meal. Today, it's been edged out by fancier desserts or replaced with boxed versions that don't carry the same homemade charm. Still, the original pie, with its real fruit, chilled layers, and melt-in-your-mouth texture, is a reminder that sometimes the simplest things leave the sweetest impressions. And speaking of sweet impressions, our next dessert was small, shaped like eggs, and packed with coconut charm. Coconut Easter egg candies. These homemade coconut egg candies were once lovingly made in kitchens rather than bought in stores. Hand-formed and dipped in chocolate, they were rich, dense, and sweet, a true labor of love. Typically made by mixing shredded coconut with sweetened condensed milk and a hint of vanilla, the mixture was shaped into small eggs, chilled, and then dipped in melted chocolate. Some versions included chopped nuts or even cream cheese. They mattered because they were made with care. Unlike store-bought candy, these were family creations, wrapped in wax paper or foil and gifted to friends, teachers, or tucked into Easter baskets. As candy companies expanded their seasonal offerings, these homemade versions became less common. Time, convenience, and modern tastes pushed them aside. But many still remember the stickiness of shaping them, the anticipation of dipping them in chocolate, and the joy of giving them away. Orange chiffon cake. Light as air and bursting with bright citrus flavor, orange chiffon cake was once the crown jewel of Easter dessert tables. Its soft, cloud-like texture and tangy glaze made it a springtime staple. Baked in a tall tube or angel food cake pan, this delicate dessert was made using whipped egg whites, fresh orange juice, and zest, resulting in a golden, airy crumb with just the right amount of sweetness. It was often finished with a drizzle of orange glaze or a dusting of powdered sugar, letting the citrus shine without too much fuss. It mattered because it felt like sunshine in dessert form. After a heavy Easter meal, it offered a refreshing finish, light on the stomach but rich in flavor. As baking trends leaned toward denser, chocolate-heavy confections, chiffon cakes faded. Their delicate technique required time and care, which fewer home bakers embraced. Still, those who remember it treasure its bright flavor, elegant simplicity, and the joy of slicing into spring.
Jell-O layered desserts.
Layered Jell-O was a colorful, wobbly wonder that once ruled Easter dessert tables, especially at big family gatherings and cheerful spring potlucks. Bright, bouncy, and irresistible, it always drew attention. Made by carefully chilling and stacking different flavors and colors of gelatin, each layer had to set before the next was poured. Some versions included whipped cream or fruit between layers, adding texture and surprise. Molded in bundt pans or poured into glass casserole dishes, the final result was a vibrant, jiggling masterpiece. It mattered because it was a showstopper that kids could help make. No baking skills were required, just time, patience, and a steady hand. When sliced, it revealed beautiful rainbow stripes that delighted guests of all ages. As dessert trends moved toward more natural ingredients or gourmet sweets, Jell-O creations faded, but their joy, color, and nostalgia remain unmatched. Did you grow up with a layered Jell-O dessert at Easter? Or have you brought it back in your family? Let us know in the comments. Carrot cake with cream cheese frosting. Carrot cake wasn't always a year-round favorite. It was once an Easter-specific dessert that symbolized spring, renewal, and just the right amount of indulgence. Moist and warmly spiced, it was made with shredded carrots, crushed pineapple, cinnamon, and sometimes walnuts or raisins. The crowning glory? A thick layer of tangy cream cheese frosting, often topped with decorative marzipan or piped icing carrots. It mattered because it balanced comfort with celebration. It was homemade, hearty, and still felt like a treat. The natural sweetness of the carrots made it feel less sinful than, say, chocolate cake, but just as satisfying. Over time, it became a cafe staple, available year-round, and thus lost its holiday charm. Today, it's rarely considered a special occasion dessert. Still, when served on Easter with spring flowers and pastel dishes, it reclaims its seasonal magic. One bite, and you're reminded why it was the perfect finish to a springtime feast. Ambrosia salad. This creamy fruit salad once held a place of honor at Easter meals, especially in the American South, where no spring potluck felt complete without it. It was quirky, colorful, and unapologetically sweet. Typically made with canned fruit cocktail, shredded coconut, mini marshmallows, and either sour cream or whipped topping. Ambrosia salad offered a mix of tang, sweetness, and chew in every bite. Variations included mandarin oranges, pineapple tidbits, maraschino cherries, or chopped pecans, depending on the family recipe. It mattered because it was a dessert in disguise, served right alongside savory dishes like ham and rolls. It was simple to assemble, didn't require baking, and fed a crowd. Its chilled, creamy texture made it especially refreshing on warm Easter afternoons. As preferences shifted toward lighter, fresher options and less processed ingredients, Ambrosia began to fade from spring menus. Still, for many, just one bite of that fruity, marshmallow-studded salad brings back memories of folding chairs, floral tablecloths, and Easter potlucks that felt like home. Easter candy bark. Made from leftover Easter candy or intentionally chosen treats, this colorful bark was both eye-catching and delicious. It started with a base of melted white or milk chocolate spread thin on a tray. Then came the toppings: pastel M&Ms, crushed cookies, jelly beans, mini marshmallows, and sometimes crushed pretzels or drizzles of caramel. Once chilled and hardened, it was broken into jagged, playful pieces. It mattered because it was a fun, low-effort way to use up candy in a creative, shareable form. Kids loved helping, and no two batches looked the same. While candy bark hasn't vanished entirely, it's rarely associated with Easter anymore. Themed versions for Halloween and Christmas have taken the spotlight. Still, Easter bark's cheerful colors and endless variations made it an easy crowd pleaser and a great excuse to play with sweets in the kitchen. Now let's dip into a treat that was often homemade and passed down from one sweet tooth to the next: buttermilk pound cake. This dense, buttery cake was once a beloved staple in Easter kitchens, a timeless classic baked in a bundt or loaf pan, dusted with powdered sugar, and served with fresh berries or a drizzle of lemon glaze. Made from scratch with real buttermilk, the cake had a moist crumb, golden crust, and rich flavor. Its simplicity was part of its charm. Often served on lace-trimmed platters or doily-lined plates, it brought a quiet elegance to the dessert table. It mattered because it was reliable and lasting. It could be baked a day or two in advance and remained tender and flavorful, ideal for Easter brunches, afternoon teas, or late-day coffee chats with guests. As boxed cake mixes, ready-made desserts, and flashy confections became more popular, the humble pound cake began to disappear from holiday menus. Still, one forkful, especially topped with whipped cream and strawberries, can bring back the comfort of a home filled with laughter, warmth, and generations gathered around the Easter table. Rice pudding with raisins and cinnamon. Creamy, comforting, and often served in decorative bowls, rice pudding was once a staple of Easter meals. Simple, old-fashioned, and full of love. Made with milk, sugar, cooked rice, and a touch of vanilla or lemon zest, it was often finished with golden raisins and a sprinkle of cinnamon on top. Some versions were baked and custard-like. Others were chilled and spoon-soft. It mattered because it was made slowly and served warmly. It felt like something a grandmother would ladle out with a smile. It wasn't flashy, but it was soul-satisfying, especially after a heavy Easter feast. As instant desserts and more modern sweets took center stage, rice pudding faded from many family tables. But for those who grew up with it, the scent of cinnamon and vanilla is forever tied to spring. Did your family serve rice pudding for Easter, or have your own spin on it? Share your memories in the comments. We'd love to hear. I hope you enjoyed this journey through forgotten Easter desserts. Which ones do you miss most? Tell us in the comments and keep the sweetness of tradition alive. Until next time.